This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, everybody, welcome. This is the Easthampton City Council Public Safety Meeting. It is 6:45 on May 14th, 2024. Present is myself, Owen Zaret, Councilor Derby, and President of the City Council, Omar Gomez, is in attendance but not attending as a member, correct? All right, and people remote, please make sure that you are muted. Thank you. There are minutes from the last meeting, I believe, but we'll review them once we have our third member, Councilor Riley, available. Public speak time. At this time, if there's members of the public here to speak on any item on our agenda, feel free to do so now. We'll start with those attending in person, and if there are people remote, please use the raise hand feature. We have two members of the public here. Do either of you want to speak at all?
Yes. Kathy Wazinski, Overlook Drive. So at some point it would be great to clarify, because there's different directions given for public speak depending on what meeting you're at, in terms of speaking on topics that are on the agenda, not speaking on topics that are on the agenda. And I know that if it's a public hearing, you wait to the public hearing. So but there is different directions depending on who's chairing. So that might be helpful to just agree on that. So the safety issue that I wanted to address tonight and just ask people to think about it is—
I'm taking notes, by the way. I'm not texting my friends or anything like that.
I figured you're very considerate. I wouldn't have expected you were being rude.
Okay, sorry, continue.
And we had a nice discussion about taking notes and how hard it is, because I can't do it. So bike and pedestrian safety, and not so much in regards to safety from cars, but safety because they're causing a problem themselves. I continue to see pedestrians that are crossing not at the crosswalks, crossing against the lights, crossing without looking, particularly at the bike paths. Very scary, down on O'Neill Street in Lovefield, where you actually can't see if you're a driver because of the cement wall, people not stopping. And that's true of cyclists as well. And I would like to actually see some fines for some of these people that are causing such unsafe conditions. I think increasing the fines for the parking issues in terms of the handicap parking made sense. It was a great idea. I'd like to see some fines for these people that are causing some significant safety issues, and they're going to get themselves or their children killed if they don't follow the rules, and it would be too bad. So that's the big safety issue I wanted to just bring up.
Thank you. Anything?
Yeah, Joanne Lucier, Deerfield Drive. My thing is that there seems to be lacking courtesy on the bike path this last couple of years. 10, 11 years ago when I walked it, bicyclists would come up behind and say, on your left, so that you were aware they were there. Now, everybody just zooms by you, and it can take you off guard. And if I have mobility issues, so startling me could cause me to, fall. I don't know, maybe the schools need to start addressing courtesy on the bike path. Like I said, it was about 10 years ago. Everybody was just, on your left, and you knew, and they would go around. And now it's just whoosh, whoosh. So that probably should be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online? Okay. So we don't have a public safety quarterly report for this meeting. We do have new business, which we won't be discussing today, which is the review of the traffic rules and orders. The only thing I would just suggest is that other members of the committee start reviewing the traffic rules and order in full, and we'll start taking a deep dive in that at a future meeting. So our continuing conversational business are the requests to amend a number of parking or no parking signs, and we just got back with a few members of the public and some other municipal stakeholders from a site visit up at Main and Union Streets. And so I'll just start going through this list one at a time, and we can discuss that and make some recommendations, unless you have anything to add before we get started. All right. So it actually, somewhat actually in reverse order. So I'm just going to start that sign on Union Street. There's a no parking sign there that stipulates essentially no parking anytime except Sundays from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. We discussed this in the past. I think the general consensus was to make that no parking at all times, especially looking at Union Street right now. There is really no room for parking there anyhow. And so I think any cars there anytime would be dangerous. So my recommendation would be just to remove it altogether, but Councilor Derby, unless you have anything separate.
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so and I did speak to Councilor Riley and asked him if he wanted us to set a separate meeting, and he could be in attendance, but he said he felt comfortable with whatever decisions we make today. So then I'll take a motion then to make that Union Street sign no parking at all times.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I'll second that. And sorry, I'm just writing things down here. Although I have a feeling I know what most of these are going to be today. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Oh, I didn't ask if there was any further discussion.
No further discussion.
Okay, so that's recommended 2-0. All right, moving on up. In the middle item, Main Street southern side from the intersection of Main and Union Street in a westerly direction to the intersection of Main Street and Clark Avenue. No parking at any time with the exception of Sundays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We had also discussed that. I think that the consensus last time and the recommendation was to allow parking at all times in those spaces there and remove the Sundays only. Councilor Derby, anything to add?
Don't. I think that makes sense, and I would be happy to make a motion to that effect.
Okay, the only thing I'll add is I'll probably want to talk to the DPW about, as we're moving through amending our traffic rules and orders, describing that better in terms of where it starts and where it stops. And technically, it probably should stop at the intersection of Park Street. I mean, I guess technically, if you went all the way to Clark, there's hashing there, but my thought, unless you disagree, is it should probably just be for however X many feet from the intersection of Uget and Main in westerly direction, and probably to Park Street. Does that sense?
This is Park Start, but if you want to cover, I'm sorry that I'm.
No, sure.
But if you want to cover all the space, including the library from the other side, you want to do it onto Center Street?
Well, we'll get to that
Or you want to
because
do that after?
there's some separate spaces
that's
there
fine.
that I want to, yeah, so Park Street. If I, okay. All right. Thank you for the
That makes sense.
clarification, Mr. President. And I'll talk, with your, as long as you're comfortable with it, I can get all those details from the DPW director.
Fine.
Okay. So I will take a motion to make that essentially parking at all times.
So
Okay. I second that. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. We have recommend that 2-0. And so I don't even know if, so I'll just open this up to discussion, and we don't have to necessarily vote on this one tonight, but so there's essentially the parking in front of the Antonio side of the street. That is, you can park at any time except 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. every day. And I'd have to research more. The reason for that, my guess is it's for deliveries.
I think so. There's twofold, and
Yep.
I do know that. So one is there could be deliveries, probably not anymore. I think what it really was about was tenants
Mhm.
parking in those spaces overnight.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So then you would get tenants parking there continuously, and it would be
Mhm.
taking up spaces from the businesses.
I see. Okay. So do you have any thoughts? Do you want to keep it as is?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with keeping it as is. I haven't heard anybody complaining about that. I think tenants have a place. I think it might, I think if we did reverse that if we could run the risk of people who live there parking there overnight,
Mhm.
which then could disrupt, morning traffic for, say, Silver Spoon, or, late morning rush at Antonio's. It could impact the businesses negatively,
Mhm.
For a convenience for the people that live there.
Mhm.
And it seems like they're doing okay not having those spaces. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So I don't think we need to make any recommendation either way, and we can dive into that when we, as we review our traffic rules and order more in detail. So, because just as an aside, so the spaces you were talking about, Mr. President, on Park Street there between basically the corner of Main and Park, and then Park and Center, I don't think those are in the traffic rules and order. And so we have to probably define those 15-minute spaces better and have a conversation probably with the library about that. As to, I think particularly these other ones where we're basically taking some spaces away altogether, as well as allowing additional times for parking, I'll reach out to the two churches, just, in terms of transparency and such. And I guess the only other question was the clerk had reached out about if it was okay for this to be the second June meeting. Do you have any objection to that? She was concerned about. Okay. Well, I don't have anything really else to discuss right now.
Yeah.
Do you have anything,
No.
Mr. Derby? Okay. I will take a motion to adjourn. Seconds. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for joining.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.